Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about the best business models for a consulting firm and what you as a consulting founder should consider. We're going to go over 4 different types of consulting models, and we are going to rank them, rate them, and break them down using 4 different criteria. Those criteria are how well they scale, what kind of profit level you can expect, how valuable that business will become, and your lifestyle. All right, so let's get into it. The first model we're going to talk about is the solo consultant model. Quick description, right? You are an independent consultant. It is just you generally, right? A solo consultant doing everything. And you might at times bring in a contractor or a few contractors that you work with, but generally you are doing the vast majority of everything inside of your business. So let's go through the different criteria and look at the positives and negatives of running a solo consulting business. So the first is scale. How well can you scale a solo consulting business? And I think this depends on what your definition of scale and growth really means. Some people will say, yes, I'm able to grow my consulting business. I started off making 0 and this year I'm making 150,000 and I'm on my way to 250,000, or I'm on my way to, significantly beyond that. Even in some cases, $1 million per year as a solo independent consultant. So you might say, well, yes, that is scaling and growing. Another way to look at scale is, are you able to make a greater and greater impact? Are you able to help more people, more organizations, whoever it is that you're actually working with as that end client? And in that regard, there's no question that a solo consulting firm cannot have the same level of impact as a firm using one of the other models that we're going to talk about. Also, there's typically and generally a cap. Of course, you can find exceptions to this rule, but there will be a cap on how much you can make as a solo independent consultant. I have spoken with several clients and consultants over the years who have been able to make their way up to generate very high 6 figures and even $1 million per year. But that is a very small number of people reaching that $1 million level, and they need to really be doing the right things to in order to get there. So if we talk about scale and growth, I would put the solo consulting business model potentially with a little bit of a minus as opposed to a plus. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily bad, right? It just depends on what your goals are. If your goal is to generate $500,000 a year, and that is the extent of where you want to scale to, then the solo consulting model might be the right one for you. But let's go through the other criteria so that you can really decide which is going to be the best approach. So the next is profit. And here, a solo consulting firm, or business I should say, it's not really a firm when it's just you, the profit levels as from a margin perspective are going to be very high. The amount of profit that you will take home is going to be pretty significant. If you start bringing in some contractors to help you, then of course you might see a little bit of a reduction in the overall percentage of profit that you are taking home. But most consultants that we work with and speak to who are solo consultants are earning 70, 80, in some cases even 90% of what they are generating in revenue is their actual profit. Your expenses are quite minimal, right? You might have a home office, you have utilities, you have some marketing services or technology, CRM, so on and so forth that you might be using. But all in all, your costs are quite low and overhead, right, very low, and therefore you are able to keep the majority of the money that you are making. Therefore, your profit is quite high. So that's a plus, right? Solo consulting business is definitely and can be very profitable. So the next is value. And what I mean by value here is how valuable is that business? And this is one area where very clearly a solo consulting business really has almost no value. And you might say, well, how's that possible? And it's possible because when somebody looks to acquire a business, right, which is what we're talking about in terms of how valuable is the company, when you're looking to essentially attribute a value, create a valuation for a company, one of the first things that any business broker or any potential acquirer is going to look for is how much does that business depend and rely on you? And at the same time, how well can that business run without you involved, right? The whole idea of, let's say, purchasing that business in many cases is so that you don't have to be involved in it any longer. But if you remove yourself from that business, and if you are the one that is doing everything inside of the business, you don't really actually have a business. What you have is a job. And so the asset value of the business, right, if you want to call it that, is quite minimal. And so that's a very clear kind of negative sign on the solo consulting model when it relates to value. And then we can talk about lifestyle. And so here, there's two ways to think about the lifestyle criteria for a solo consulting business. The first is that you're your boss, like you are the boss, and you don't have team members that you need to manage. So for some people, that's a massive plus, right? They really want that. That's why they maybe left management or senior position somewhere, because they didn't want to deal with everything that comes with that. But the challenge is that because you are the one doing everything, the business, again, if you want to call it that, fully relies on you. Right? And if you remove yourself from that, if you take holidays, if you become sick, if something comes up, the quote unquote business isn't actually operating. And that's why many people will actually say that a solo consultant is not necessarily a business. And I kind of take, I can see it both ways, right? Because I remember when I was a solo consultant back in the day, I certainly felt like I was running a business. I knew that I had to be doing business things, marketing, business development, sales, right? That's why we refer to a consulting success, the entrepreneurial consultant, as opposed to just a consultant. A consultant can just deliver work, but an entrepreneurial consultant is thinking about how to grow the business. And so I think it comes down to, what are you looking for? If you just are happy to do the work and you're able to earn a good income, that might be totally fine for you. But it is important to think about, well, what happens if you become sick? At one point, who's relying on you? Who are your dependents? How does that impact your income? The same way, if you lose one client and that was your main client, that doesn't really leave you with very much. So the lifestyle side can be very positive, but it can also be a bit of a threat or a danger, because if you are the one doing everything inside of it, the moment you remove yourself from that, whether it's taking time off or you get sick or something comes up, there's not much there that is going to continue to create value, right? Or to generate revenue and profit. And that's what you need in order to fund your lifestyle. So there's definitely some positives when it comes to the solo consulting model, but there's also some negatives and some that are kind of in between. Let's now go to the next. So the next model is the firm model. This is the classic model when you think about a consulting firm, when you think about a McKinsey, company like Accenture, Bain, BCG, you name it, right? Big and small. The firm model is really how most people think about consultants. And that model, very simply, starts off with a founder or founders who come together. They have deep knowledge, expertise, right, experience, and the way that they go about usually delivering on work is they hire other consultants. They train those consultants. There will be different layers of junior consultants and more mid-level consultants and senior level consultants who are often partners inside of those firms. And each of them will do different things inside of the business. Some will be focused more on business development. Others will be focused more on research and presentations. Others will be focused more on the communications and actually doing work with the clients. But that is the firm model. And the way that most people make money with the firm model is that you're generating billings, right, from everyone inside of the company that's working on different projects for clients. And so you as the founder or the partner, there's leverage in that, right? So even if you're using an hourly fee model, which many firms still use, you're going to get a portion of what somebody else is doing in terms of the work that they're delivering for a client. So let's just say a client is paying the firm $300 an hour. Maybe you're paying somebody who's doing the actual work $150 an hour. So $150, right, would be kept for the firm and to fund the growth of the firm and cover costs and so forth. So the more associates or more consultants that you have inside of the business, the more your revenues are able to grow. So let's talk about each of the criteria as it relates to the firm model. So the first is scale, right? How conducive is the firm model to growth and scale? Well, it's definitely a plus because you're able to grow and scale, right, by adding more people generally. And in this case, it doesn't necessarily rely just on you, right? It's a very clear path to, as more business comes in, you can hire more people, or you hire more people, you go out, you take on bigger projects, right? You win more business, you generate more billings. So that's a very clear positive on the scale criteria. Next, we should talk about profit. And what you want to recognize here is that this will vary. There are some firms who have a lower profit margin, who aren't running as tight of a ship, aren't as focused on being kind of lean and mean and nimble and profitable. But there's many firms out there who, even at quite large sizes, are running very healthy profit margins. And so these firms can be quite profitable. You're not going to see the same kind of profit margin as you would if you were a solo consultant, right? Or running one of the other models that I'll talk about next. but a firm model can still be quite profitable. The other thing is that if you went kind of back in the day, historically, I should say, most consulting firms were using hourly fees, but that's certainly changed over the years, where you have many consulting firms that are generating, tens or even upwards of hundreds of millions of dollars per year that aren't using the hourly fee model. They're using more project-based model. They're using productized offerings. They are also using performance-based compensation to a degree, but the big focus is shifting away from hours to value, meaning that the more value they can create, the more valuable solving that problem is for their client, the more value they are creating for that client, and therefore the higher compensation they can receive, so that it's a great win for the client, right? A very strong ROI for the client, but also significantly greater compensation for the firm and the consulting firm and the founder, as opposed to just charging on an hourly fee basis. So profit margins, if you're going from a solo consultant and now you're starting to hire people and build out your firm, you will, in many cases, see a dip in the percentage of profit margin, but your revenues should start to climb. And so even though the percentage of profit might be lower, the actual amount of dollar in profits could in many cases be higher. Let's go to the next one, which is value. So how valuable can a consulting firm be? Well, it's definitely much more valuable than a solo consulting model. And that's because the whole idea behind building a firm is that everything does not need to rely on you. The goal of most consulting founders who use the firm model is to continue to find all the areas where the business is dependent on them or reliant on them, and to extract themselves from that. Because if you can go away, whether it's intentionally, like on a holiday, or something comes up, and the business can still do everything it needs to do. It can bring in new clients, it can win that client business, it can service and deliver for those clients, it can retain those clients, it can expand those clients, all the things that you would work through, right, as a strategically minded consulting business owner and founder, then that business is valuable. So that means that your business will be valuable to a potential acquirer, whether it's somebody that is making an investment into a part of your business or wants to become the majority shareholder or outright purchase and acquire your business. You now actually have a business, you have an asset, you have something that is valuable that again can run and create revenue and profit without your direct involvement. Now, in order to get to that place, we should talk about the last criteria here, which is lifestyle. Most consultants who start off as a solo, independent consultant and then start to bring on maybe some part-time people or full-time people, if your goal is to be able to make a greater impact, if your goal is to grow and to scale, if you want to have a business that can run without your direct involvement and continue to become more valuable, right, then the firm model is a really great model to look at. But to go from where you often are at the early stages and to get to that place that I was just referencing from a lifestyle perspective, does often take you kind of, a little bit down to up. And here's what I mean by that specifically. To get to that place where the business can run without your direct involvement often means that you need to work hard, right, to get the right people. So you need to think about hiring and training. You need to think about delegation. You need to be prepared to make some sacrifices at different times in order to build that business. And that's the reality with really any great business in any industry, anywhere in the world, is that it does require sacrifices. It requires hard work. It doesn't mean to say that running a solo consulting model is not hard work either. It certainly is and can be. But the difference is that with the firm model, in my experience, building our team now to about 20 people with consulting success currently, what you'll find is that it can feel like things are in a really good place. You make some changes. Sometimes those changes can feel a little bit uncomfortable. They can cause some stress. They can make you think, is this the right model? You might start to see your profit margins as a percentage going down. But if you're doing the right things, right, you're going through the process correctly, you'll find that the feeling then starts to pick back up. And then even if your profit margin percentage is lower than where it was before, you'll be making more profit in terms of actual dollars. But not only that, you now have a business that can run without you. Not only that, you're able to impact more people, more organizations, right? Have a greater ripple on effect. Plus you're creating more value inside of your business. So just keep that in mind, that there are changes, right? Some kind of downs and later ups when it comes, in my experience and observation, and also working with many consulting firms who have gone, we've helped them to essentially make that transition from a solo or very small firm into actually building out and becoming a more substantial, successful consulting business. It's not a straight line, right? It's not just up and to the right. It's not just down. It kind of moves around a little bit. Okay, let's now talk about the next model, which is a productized consulting model. And to define what this means in, a simple kind of explanation, a productized model is where you deliver a repeatable process or system, right, or outcome. You solve the same problem for the same kind of person and create the same kind of result that they all want. So you're very clear. It is the opposite of customized services. You are not creating new solutions and solving all different kinds of problems for all different types of people. I have another video on the YouTube channel here where I went into much more detail about the productized consulting model, how to think about it, when to know if it is right for you, and in some cases it may not be. So somewhere on the video here, you should be able to click to watch that productized consulting video in detail. But let's get back to how to evaluate this model. So first we need to talk about scale. And yes, a big plus mark for the productized model when it comes to scaling and growth. Again, one of the greatest benefits of the productized model is that it is repeatable. You're not reinventing the wheel. There is a much smaller percentage of customization and a lot more of leveraging and using assets and materials and documentation that you've used in the past, right? You're getting better and better, doing the same thing over and over and over, which allows you to master it. So that helps you to scale, because you can also take that, you can turn that into documentation, SOPs, standard operating procedures. That makes it easier to train new people, to hire new people for those specific roles, to essentially make sure that they can not only understand what needs to be done, but they can actually do it. So you as the founder don't need to be involved in all aspects of delivery or all aspects of providing or overseeing that productized offer and that model, because other people can do it just as well as you can, usually after a period of time, because you've provided everything that is necessary to run it, because it happens over and over. It doesn't require that level of customization. Again, I go into a lot more detail on this in the productized consulting services video that you may want to check out. Let's talk about profit. So profit also quite high, usually higher than the consulting firm model as a percentage. And that really just comes from the benefits of scale, the benefits of that you are not reinventing the wheel. You are using a lot of what you already have. You define a series of steps, a repeatable process or system or program. And so because you're doing the same thing over and over, right, you're able to find the inefficiencies, the waste, and remove it, and just make the delivery and that whole kind of program more profitable, right, over time. Then let's talk about value. Well, the productized consulting model, similar to the firm model, is also something that is highly desirable by acquirers. There is significant value in it, and that is for similar reasons to the firm model, mainly being that you don't need to be the one delivering everything. The productized model usually will have great documentation, will have a series of repeated steps that you will not be the only one that is required, or hopefully not the only one doing all of that actual work. You will build a team, and whether that is contractors, freelancers, full-time, part-time, you can have others that can help your clients to get amazing results, because the process is what matters. It's not only about the person, it's about the process. And as long as you have great people that share values and all that good stuff, if they're using the process that that works and they're taking clients through it, then the outcome and the result will almost always be at the same level as previous, right? Roughly. So that's something that acquirers really like. They like that it's not reliant on one person. They like that there's standardization, there's great documentation, right? So they can plug in, for example, their marketing or their sales to increase the number of leads, or they can come in and adjust pricing and start making significantly more profit, or they can bolt it on to something else that they're already doing. And because it's so well organized as a model, it is highly desirable. And then lifestyle. So it's same here as the firm model. When you shift into a productized model, there will likely be some headaches. If you know what to look for, right, you can minimize those significantly. But similar to the firm model, once you have it up and running, you will find that there's great benefits, great efficiencies and areas of how this can make your lifestyle more effective. And one of the biggest ones is that you, again, don't need to be the bottleneck. You can remove yourself from a lot of the day-to-day and spend your time where you can create the greatest value, because you know that you have a system, you have a process, you have people who can run that for you and make sure that your clients are being very well taken care of. That's our experience as well. Take our Clarity coaching program. It's still a program that I love being involved with, and I'm still interacting with clients on a regular basis. But we have an amazing group of very talented coaches who, in their own right, run their own successful consulting businesses, generating 6 and 7 figures. Many of them have come through our Clarity coaching program in the past. They know what it's like. They know what works, right? They've received our training and our coaching. And so now they love giving back. They love being part of the consulting success community. And they also work with our clients. And so we've created this community where our clients can get far better care and service than just interacting with just one of us, because we have now a whole team of people that are dedicated to support them and to work with them closely to ensure that they get great results. So that is an example of the benefits that we've seen by applying the productized model to our Clarity coaching program. Okay, let's now talk about the final model. And this is a model that few people talk about, but to me, for many years, I've observed it as being one of the best. And so if there is a best consulting model, this will be it. And it is called the hybrid model. Put simply, it is where you take the elements of the previous 3 models and you combine them in whatever form or fashion and percentage that is the right fit for you. That is what I truly believe to be one of the most exciting areas and opportunities in business, is to craft a business that supports the lifestyle that you want, that it feels right for you. And so if you find that you still really enjoy working on custom projects, you might say, well, you know what, we want, or I want to work with just a very small number of clients every year with a custom type of engagement. It is going to be value over volume, meaning that it is going to be focused on being high value, high paying clients, but just a few of them, but maybe that's something that you love. And then you're also going to have another component of your business that is productized, and it's a set program for a certain kind of avatar or ideal client profile, and you market, you sell it, and you have a team that delivers on it. That might be the way that you set up your model. And I'm not suggesting that, I'm just saying that as an example. So hybrid is where you can mix and match. You can find what works and for you and how you want to structure your business and what is important and what your goals are long term, and then find the right model that fits that. That's what we help our clients with at Consulting Success. That's what we help our clients with inside of the Clarity coaching program, is to have that conversation and look at what their goals are, what their situation is, what their experience, their expertise, where the opportunities lie, and then together to craft a model that will allow them to build the type of business they want, a highly profitable business, a business that supports their lifestyle, a business that makes them the kind of money that they want, a business that allows them to make the impact that they want to have, doing work that they love, working with clients that they truly enjoy. And so when we think about the hybrid model, the real idea here is that across all criteria, from scale to profit to value to lifestyle, it's all a plus, because you get to customize and to figure out what do you want to be inside of that hybrid model. And so you can select the best components from as I mentioned, the previous 3 models to make this one the best for you. Now there is one additional thing that I need to point out, a little bit of a disclaimer / just distinction, or at least a note for you, because I hope that this will be valuable. And that is the danger that I've seen, or the one thing that I want to caution you with the hybrid model, because I've seen this with many clients over the years, is that oftentimes people will have a business model that is working well for them, right? It is serving them, it is creating great results for their clients, it's creating great revenue and profits for the consultant or the team members inside of that firm, depending on what model they're using. So they have something that works, but then they hear about something that sounds exciting, like building an online course, right? Creating something online, passive income, right? Make money while you sleep, all that kind of exciting stuff that you hear about so often online. And they will get excited by that. And they'll start to spend more time, more energy building something that hasn't yet been proven to work, which means that they're now spending less time on what is already working inside of their business. And it's not uncommon when that happens to find out that you're trying to make something brand new work, but it doesn't work as well as you'd like, or it doesn't work as quickly as you'd like. And in the meantime, your existing business or business model that has been doing very well starts to suffer because you've been paying less attention to it, right? Less care, less focus. So this is something that you really want to give some thought to and get some feedback on to ensure that you have the right model in place, you have the right plan in place. And that's what we do again inside of the Clarity Coaching Program. If you'd like to receive a custom strategic growth plan that is the right fit for you and for your goals to scale and take your business to the next level, go ahead, click on the link somewhere here and maybe in the description below the video. Get in touch, schedule a call. We'll be happy to have a conversation with you to learn more about your specific goals and how we can best help you to take your consulting business to the next level.